Everything changed for me once I looked at things from the perspective of the holodeck, I call it. The holographic universe, the idea of we live inside of a coded reality. Looking at these things for years, the 369, the flower of life, the golden ratio, the Vitruvian, all these synchronicities in the DNA of everything, the fractal aspect of our existence, and the possibility of how we manifest and create from this space. A tad note on creation. Some of the czars of old time, and maybe they still do it in the upper echelons of Dubai culture, where they synchronize the timing of when to consummate may not be the right word, but when to bring the seed into the womb for gestation. So the sort of alignment of stars and galaxies, and how we see these sort of circles and squares in our existence, and I can look at that as ones and zeros, squares being the one, the circles being the zeros, and the zeros representing the openness for receiving what the square or the one is putting into it. You know, sometimes when I go to manifest, it happens so rapidly, but it's really about bringing the waveform into the solid state. And sometimes that doesn't make sense to me, but I remember one time I was looking at what a candle looks like. Or what a flame of a candle looks like on a very zoomed in sort of level, and you can see the particles of the fire floating up into the ether. And I can hone in on that energy. I'm a fire sign, and I love to work with candles and candle magic and intention. You know, I'll say magic a lot, but it's really about intention, because the simple things that I look to manifest into my existence, I don't ritualize it, but and they occur, like a parking space. Oh, I hope I get a space in front of the house, and voila, right? That's a manifestation. That's a wish fulfillment. That's, Anyway, so I say these things to say, when I took a step back and I didn't look at myself excuse me. When I took a step back and I looked at myself as not really being here, it changed the way that I approached the existence. And you may hear from time to time saying that your body is a vessel. It's the soul that is driving. You are not your body. And that's true, and you can recognize that in dreaming state. When you dream, your consciousness goes elsewhere. And if our consciousness is downloaded, in essence, into this operating system, which is our body, and at a certain point, operating systems grow obsolete, and let's call that death. But energy is not created nor destroyed. It is transferred, right? You're transferring your files back into the ether. And when my father's file got transferred back into the ether, I started to look at the holodeck of things. And as much sorrow as I still hold, I was pulling on him so much in sorrow and in mourning, and sharing with him things that I couldn't share when he was here. It's interesting how our egos get intertwined, our avatars get intertwined with our spiritual battles and journeys, and how close we let ourselves get to the people that we love. But I started to get these revelations and things put into my universe, into my world, into my immediate domain that were only divinely planted there. I was pulling very heavily upon his energy, like, please help me out of this situation. And voila, I have completely changed, or not I, but my dynamic has completely changed. Or is it the I in I, right? The I am, the I in the I am. So when approaching my existence from the holodeck, I started to recognize the game system of it all, and the synchronicities started coming in more heavily because I had leveled up. I wasn't operating from the zombie-esque space of the day in and day out circular structure of work, sleep, eat, shit, shower, repeat. I was operating from the observer aspect. And as much as I looked at The Secret, maybe it wasn't my favorite movie, but I gave it a good 4 watches, as opposed to The Matrix, a good 100 watches. But in The Secret, there's a moment where she snaps out of it and she becomes the observer, and she watches herself in these different instances. And I can remember in certain situations where I have watched myself, unknowingly watch myself. Like if I go back into a memory, my memory is not from, it can be from my immediate first person, but it's almost like I'm looking at myself in those memories. 2 distinct ones that stick out to me at the moment. And that, I gather, is the observer effect. Now, I'm looking into the holy guardian angel, which I go deeper into it, and some I don't know, people call them, some people call it the higher self, or some people what do they call it, the Holy Spirit. But nevertheless, whatever it is, one of the practices is to look at yourself as if you are the holy guardian angel looking at yourself. So you take the perspective of the angel and you look at you. And unbeknownst to myself, there have been times where I have looked at myself from the outside looking in. And there's so many juicy little things that I can go into, but I'll save that for another time. The observer, when you start to observe your reality outside of yourself, what you know yourself to be. It's like, I'm me, I'm sitting here, I'm watching TV, I'm operating, I'm eating, but you're operating a vehicle. Step out of the car. And when you step out of the car, in theory, in thought, and you take a look around, things look different. You notice different things. And it's not always, I don't want to say it's easy, but once you get in the energy of doing that, and when you can do it more often, you start to see the matrix and what the matrix is offering you, what the higher self is offering you, what the Holy Spirit is offering you in relation to your reality. Now, the things that I notice that are being offered are very, I don't want to say spiritual, but natural things. The things comes in form of a person. For me, it was a person that came into my life. Now, this is a thing as well, that spirits use people. Now, what are spirits? Spirits are essences, are energies, and if with great enough force, they can take form, reveal themselves in different states of conscious awareness, which again is for another time. But they can sort of hop into dynamics and create environments and guide and lead. And when I was in that despair, I was always very calling, spiritually helping, and I would get my little pick-me-ups here and there. But the energy that poured out of my sorrow, the energy is what they say really takes it over the top, cultivating heaviness and cultivating lightness, but cultivating a vortex is the driving force. When you have more force, think about celebrities as star power. They have a magnetic pull, and they pull with them a vortex, or they pull with them a tornado that revolves around them. Or like, I don't know if you're into the Matrix, but when Neo was flying to save Trinity from that falling building, he was flying so fast that he was pulling everything in his wake. And that was a bit of what I had. And it was sorrow based. And they call that a tower moment. And I had a tower that led me to a brand new day. Towers are good things when you have positive motivating force. It's like the moldavite crystal. It will drop away the things that are not meant to be with you. And that's what I was asking for. Please free me. I cannot take this anymore, sort of thing that I was personally going through. So I am in a state where I am seeking constant connection. And I don't do it in a religious way because, and I don't know anybody's walk, and I'm sure we all have our divine pleas. But I am in heavy study of assistance. Bobby Hemmett said that we have 72 chakras, and he also relates that to the 72 I don't know if they're demons. I know, and I hear demon as a derogatory word, but there are 72 names of God that I relate that to. And I know that when it comes to Solomon and the Goetica, anyway, Bobby Hemmett said there are 72 demons, that transcends where we stop with our chakras, and they keep on going up 72 times. And maybe there are 72 dimensions at that thought. But I noticed that new levels, new devils. And once I was able to stand outside of my personal dynamic, because I got into a space of wallow, meaning I could not see a way out. And there was a light that shined a passage, the light being a person, that vibrated perfectly or perfect enough to release me from the veil that was put over me. And I think that happens to a lot of us. We get shrouded in a thought pattern, or it's like something is over our eyes. I say veil, but I guess that's the best thing I can use at the moment. We have to sort of cut that cloth. And when you cut the cloth that is, it's over your windows, like, oh shit, I see reality. So you really have to put your energy into releasing yourself from your own imposed cell. It's like the movie Ready, Set, Go. Everybody is in their own little janky room playing this game where they outwardly live this fantastic reality in their avatars and they're winning. But when they take the goggles off, they are really, in that shitty room in the dungeon of the ship in the Matrix. There's a couple videos that I was never able to find again. And how you watch a video, or you listen to a video, you watch a video, and it disappears from your grasp and you can't find it anymore. Sometimes that'll happen on a TikTok or Instagram scroll. It's like, shit, I just had it, and then it's lost. So there's been a couple of videos that did that, but one in particular was about our eyeballs. And I know I go into this weird shit, but it was talking about the lens. And, I don't have the exact function of it because I would have listened to this shit 40 times, but it flipped the epiphany about the eyeball and the lens, and there could not be anything that we're actually looking at outside. So everything that we're actually looking at is really an internal vision. And that's a thing that I'm struggling to navigate with. But when I touch on when they say nothing is solid, no matter, not, matter and things that we can touch, nothing is really solid. They're just atoms floating so closely, and atoms are only wave signatures, and these wave signatures cause a perception, and our vessels are dealing with the perception of signatures. And that leads me more into, I can control the weather. I can influence the system I'm in. And I've seen my influence upon it. And if you're here, you've probably seen your influence upon it. There's another guy I watch, and he's like, you can win the lotto, and you just gotta feel it, and you gotta feel it. It's big feelings that create major shifts. And cultivating the intense feeling is all they talk about. Napoleon and this one and Allen, and all they talk about is cultivating that big feeling. But like in any computer system, there are laws, and then there are commands. And I have to command what I can, and knowing what I can command is the first step. So here's a little tip when it comes to manifesting in the holodeck. Take the best parts that you can remember. Take the things that made you feel the happiness. It's the Peter Pan theory. Think happy thoughts if you want, or you can think those sad thoughts if they have a greater weight on you. Go into the depths of your own personal hell and then ask for what you know you can get. Transmute it. Transmutation is feeling really fucked up and then swinging it to the opposite polarity of, oh, he died. I feel so bad about that. But remember that time he was over there and he was bugging out on those people, and yeah, transmute it. Or think about that time that you were shining and that you felt your most amazing, and sit in that vibration and think about how you can, I don't know, it's easy. Yeah, I could use 250. That shit may drop on the floor in front of you. That happened to me one day. I'll touch on a couple notes there. I was at the water and I was crying. I was at the river and I was just taking a moment to let it out. And I was just talking to whatever was listening. I'm like, God, God, please. Or ancestors, angels, like whoever is here with me. I need a way, and I don't have any enough, and I don't have any, and I crying. And when I get to the front door of my building, I'm still kind of talking it out, just kind of like, oh God, a full, heavy energy of misery. And, I look down on the sidewalk and somebody dropped $20. And that's nothing for a lot of people. But I was at a place where I had like $1.60 in my life. And that 20 was a sign of hope, And I think that's when I got into Magick. It was that day when I realized I had some pull, and I started listening to Frederick Xavier, and he gave me a host of things to jump into, planetary magic and things like that. And I another time I was Ryan Cropper came up with a manifestation course, and I didn't have enough money for this $200 course. And he said, just today I'm running the special. The course is going to be, I don't know, is maybe $40. And $40 is, at that time, was a good deal of money that I could use for the other things. I needed to use for other things, but I invested in that course. And he had some simple rules in there, and I'm not going to give away his things, but it touched into candle magic and intention and thinking about what you want, and a host of other cool little things. And when I tell you I got $10,000 the next week, I was like, not stunned, I like disbelief, like for me going from like 0 to 100, it was like, what? And that led me to the place of knowing that, okay, shit is real. And, sometimes these demons, they put the veil back over your head. They keep you in chaos and confusion. And that's why I had to change my environment to get out of chaos and confusion so I could focus. Because you fall out of your magic, And when going through this transition of being snapped out of the bullshit, removing the veil, waking up, shaking it off, standing my ground, and knowing that I am supernatural, I was able to leap and bound my levels of game when it comes to this matrix. I see the devils coming at me. Boom, get out of here. Boom, get out of here. Boom, get out of here. I jumped up at least 4 levels, and I'm not where I want to be, but I know how to get where I'm going for the most part. I know that I have the tools to forcefully move through. And, they say going into nature helps and all these other things. Yeah, I go into nature and I clear my head and I look at the birds and I let the sun soak in, and I'm thankful for that. That does provide a sense of peace, harmony. It allows me to see the beauty. My discernment is crazy. What I'm willing to engage in, it's not much, because I see through the bullshit. Nah, I'm not jumping into that. You missed me with that one. So, I hope this helps, because these are some key foundational things that help me move through. I don't leave the comments open usually, because the haters hurt. But if there are any questions, you can ask. All right.